See, in our today's session, I'll tell you once again what is Docker, for what purpose we're using Docker in DevOps. As you know, Docker is one of the important tool in DevOps. Again, we'll talk about how Docker works, and there are some basic commands in Docker that also I'll tell you. After that, we'll see practically how this command works. So let us start with Docker. So what is Docker? So Docker is a tool used to create container. What is container then? Anyone can you tell me what is container? So already we discussed these points in our previous session. What is Docker and why, for what purpose we use Docker? So as I told you, Docker is used to create a container. It is one of the important tool in DevOps. But you should know what is container then. Does anyone? What is container? Okay. So container is what? So container is a device, or it is a part of Docker to user to hold required softwares or you can say files to run an application. You know, already I told you that in DevOps there is a problem between DevOps team, that is developer team and operation team. So that problem is solved by using container. So Docker is creating a container, and the container contains some softwares which are required to run our developed applications. Okay, that is the main purpose of container, right? And also I told you that these containers are like your virtual machine. It contains not a virtual machine, it is like a virtual machine. We can create any number of containers by using Docker in our system, right? So this is about Docker. Now I'll tell you how Docker works. Okay, so here the first step is we have to create a, see, we have developer creates a Docker file. Okay, so this Docker file is one of the component of your Docker. I'll tell you what are the components of your Docker. So first step here, the developer creates a Docker file, and this file contains what the required information to create a container. Means there are some instructions. So one by one, those instructions are executed, and your container will be created. Okay. So before creating container, first the image is created. Okay. So I'll tell you in detail how this Docker file looks and how to write this Docker file. But here, who is going to write this Docker file? Your developer is writing the Docker file. So that is the first step in Docker. Second step is what? And see, this Docker file contains all the dependencies, all the required softwares, right? The list of softwares, required software, a list of dependencies that is mentioned in Docker file. Again, the second file, in second step, this Docker file is executed. Okay, means so we run this Docker file, run Docker file on Docker engine. Okay, see, developer creating a Docker file, and this Docker file, created Docker file is, we have to run on Docker engine. See, actually your Docker is not creating a container. Inside Docker, we have Docker engine, one of the important component of your Docker. And this Docker engine is responsible to create a container. But to create a container, Docker engine needs this Docker file. Okay, so we are running this Docker file on Docker engine, and then after running, it creates image. Okay, and from this image, your container will be created. Okay, image and container both are same, but so what is the difference between image? Actually, Docker engine is creating a containers, but before that, it creates an image first. Okay, suppose your container is in what you call a stop condition, it is idle, then in that case we call it as the image. And if your container is running, okay, means if you run the image, then your the image is converted to container, right? So this is the difference between image and container. So our next step is what? We have to run the Docker file on Docker engine, then this Docker engine creates a image, and then from this image, okay, we create a container. So from image, container is created, right? This is the third step. Okay, and fourth step is, whatever images we created, those images are uploaded on Docker Hub. Upload image on Docker Hub. Okay, for reuse. So these are the four steps. Okay, so in first step, developer creates a Docker file, and this Docker file contains all the dependencies, means list of dependencies or the required softwares or required files to run our developed application. Okay, then as per the Docker file instruction, your Docker engine creates the image. Means we run the Docker file on Docker engine, then it creates the image. Okay, after getting image, from this image, our container is created. Okay, and then whatever image we have created now, those images are uploaded on the Docker Hub. See, Docker Hub is nothing but it is like a storage, Docker image storage, or you can call it as a repository or registry also for the images, right? So, and why to upload this image on Docker Hub? Because again in future, suppose I need the same softwares to run my application, I need the same dependencies to run my new develop application. In that case, no need to create image again and again. So same image I can reuse it, I can use it. So that's why we have to upload the images which we created on Docker Hub for reuse. So these are the four steps under how Docker works. Now again, I'll show you here. So see this diagram. From this diagram, you will get clear idea about the Docker, how Docker works. See what I told here. This is the first step. Okay. In first step, your your developer is creating a Docker file. See this arrow. Okay. So developer has created Docker file. Then we run this Docker file on Docker engine. Actually, this part is called as Docker engine. So this is called as Docker engine. Okay, I'll write here. Okay, so we run this Docker file on Docker engine, then image is created. Okay, and from this image, your container is created. Okay, first image is created from the Docker file by the Docker engine, and then whenever we need a container, so from this image your container is created. Means we are running the image, then your container will be created. So like this your Docker works. Again, see, after creating this image, it is uploaded on the Docker Hub for reuse. Reuse means what? Again, suppose there is, I want to create one more container. Okay, and that container needs the same image. So I can pull the image from the Docker Hub and I can create another container. Right. Similarly, I want to create again one more container. So I can pull the same image from the Docker Hub because it is already uploaded. Okay, from here, from this point, and again I can create one more container. So in this way, your Docker works. Okay, I'll show you practically how this works. Right now, our next point is what are the components of Docker? Okay, already I told you there are 4 components of Docker. Out of these 4, the important one is Docker engine. Okay, the first component is Docker engine. Okay, sometimes we call it as a Docker daemon. It is also called as Docker daemon. Okay, or you can say a server, also Docker server. So this is the first component. What is the purpose of this component? Is, as I told you, to create a containers. Okay, actually this Docker engine, it runs on host operating system. Okay, so now see, in this laptop I have Windows operating system. So what I'm doing, I'm installing Docker in my laptop. Okay, and as I told you, in after installing Docker, so Docker, there is one Docker engine, one of the component of your Docker. Okay, this is creating a Docker. This is creating a containers. So your Docker engine runs on host operating system, means in my Windows operating system, right? And here its purpose is to, okay, it is responsible for running containers and manage containers, or you can say Docker services. Okay, wait. Okay, so this is a one more job of Docker engine. Okay, responsible for running containers, means not only running, means it accepts the Docker file from the developer, creates an image, and from that image it creates a container. Not only creating a container, again Docker engine is responsible to run the containers. Okay, it starts the container, it stops the container. Okay, and also suppose I want to do some modifications in container. So Docker engine can do the modifications in container. But if it is image, so after creating image, we cannot modify the image. We cannot do any changes in the image. But if I want to do any changes in the image, first we have to run the image, and then your container will be created, and after that we can do the modifications, and these modifications are done by the Docker engine inside the containers, right? So this is the one of the tasks performed by Docker engine. Okay, one more is that, see, this Docker engine can communicate with other Docker engines, can communicate with other Docker engines, right? So this is about the first component of your Docker. Second component is Docker Hub. Okay, so this Docker Hub is used to hold the images, right? Means it manages and store images. Okay, we can call it as a storage also. It is store image storage. We use Docker Hubs to store all the created images so that we can reuse it in future, right? So this is the first task of Docker Hub. But here we have two types of Docker Hub. Means we have two types of registry, right? First is public, two types of Docker Hub. Okay. First is public and second is private. Yes, we can have public Docker Hub or we can have private Docker Hub. Public means what? Means anyone. Suppose after uploading images on Docker Hub, if it is a public means anyone can pull the images from the public Docker Hub. If it is private means this belongs to a particular company. Means only the company people means the employees or the person who is working in that company only can access the images. Means we can use the private to share images within enterprise or within company only. So that is the purpose of private. But here we'll talk about only public Docker Hub, right? So this is the second component. The third component is, as I told you, Docker container. Sorry, Docker images. Okay, so this is very important component in okay. First important component is Docker engine. Second is Docker images, because from the images we are creating Dockers, and these images are read only. Is what if you want to do any changes in the images after creation, we cannot do the changes in images, and these are used to create containers. Keep in mind, from images we create a containers. First the images are created, and from that image we create a container. I'll show you again in detail what is image, and see this image contains all the dependencies, because we are creating image from the Docker file. So this image contains all the required software, actual softwares. In Docker file, we write the only list of the softwares, list of dependencies to run our application. But actual software, actual dependencies are stored in the images. So image contains all the dependencies and all the required software to run an application, right? And see, there are two ways to create image. Okay, first is from Docker file, and second is we create from, okay, sorry, we take from Docker Hub. Already we have images in Docker Hub. Just pull the image from the Docker Hub, and sometimes we have to create an image from the Docker file. Okay, so this is the third component. Then the fourth one is actual container, your Docker container. Okay, and see this container holds. See, as I told you, it holds. I'll write first. It holds entire package, or you can say dependencies needed to run an application. Okay. You see, it is like a virtual machine. But this already I told you. And also I told you the difference between virtual machine and Docker. There is a small difference between virtual machine and Docker. Sorry, virtual machine and container. Okay. The next is, so here, as I told you, image. See, we can't do changes in the image, but in containers we can do changes. One more thing is, we cannot do changes in images, but after converting image into container, in container we can do changes, or you can say modifications. I want to do some modifications in images, but directly in images we cannot do. First we have to convert, you have to run the image, then you'll get a container, and then we can do modification in the container. So that also I'll show you. So these are the 4 components of a Docker. Okay. Now let us discuss about the commands, the basic commands. Basic commands in Docker. Okay. Our first command is, I'll tell you, to suppose I want to see all images present in our local machine, in our local system. Okay, suppose this in my laptop already I installed Docker, and now inside Docker I have Docker engine, and inside engine we have some images, right? Suppose I want to check how many images available or they are present in my local machine, in my laptop, okay, in my host machine. So the command is, for this, the command is, we type Docker space images. Don't write image, it is images. Okay, if you type this command, you will get the list of images present in our local machine. Okay, this is our first command to check all the images present in our local machine. Similarly, I'll tell second command. Suppose I want to find images on Docker Hub. See, I have one more component here, and so I want to check whether the image is available on Docker Hub. See, we are pulling images from the Docker Hub. Okay, it must be available in Docker Hub. But before pulling the image from the Docker Hub, we should check whether that required image is available on Docker Hub or not. So to find, or I can say to search the image on Docker Hub, we have command Docker is search, and here you have to write image name. Suppose I want to search Jenkins. Okay, so any image, whether the Jenkins image is available on Docker Hub or not. So here we have to write image name here. Okay, Docker search is common, and which image you are going to you're trying to find on the Docker Hub or Jenkins, or you can say, suppose I want to find Ubuntu image, whether this image is available on Docker or not, Docker Hub or not. Or if I want to find CentOS, this image on Docker Hub. Okay, so any image name, okay, you have to type. Okay, after executing this command, you will get the status whether the image is available or not. If it is available, okay, it will show the message that the requested image is available in Docker Hub with the image details. Okay, so this is the second command to find images on Docker Hub. Now, third command is that to actually I should tell this command first. How to install Docker? To install Docker. How to install Docker on my machine? Okay. Command is, the syntax is here, yum install Docker space -y. So this command we use to install Docker in our machine. Actually, I should tell this command. This is our first command. Okay, after that, these are the remaining commands. Right. So yum is okay. This is one command. Always, not only Docker. If you want to install any like software, any tool, so this is common. Yum install and then the tool name and then -y. So in okay, after, so you can type only this part also. So after entering this one, it will ask the permission whether to continue or not. So yes or no. So yes. So already we are giving this yes. Directly it will install Docker in our machine. Now next command is to download images. Okay, already I know that the image. See, after to download images from Docker Hub. Okay, so for already I know that the requested image is okay. The required image is available on Docker Hub. Okay, then just type this command: Docker pull. Okay, you're pulling image. Pull from the Docker Hub and store in Docker engine. Pull then image name. Suppose I want to pull the Jenkins here. Right, any image name you can write. Before that, you should write pull here. Docker pull means pull from the Docker Hub and store in Docker engine. Next, fifth command. These are very important command, basic commands. From this, I'll show you practically how the Docker works. There are around 12 commands are there. Next is how to create and run container. Okay. Now what I did is I downloaded, I pulled image from the Docker Hub. Now my next step, okay, already image is available now. Okay. So from this image, I want to create a container. So we have one command which creates container from image as well as which runs container. Now to create and run. You can say back here you can write start container from image. Command is Docker run -it. You can write -i -t also. I'll show you. So separate also you can write, or combined you can write -it. I'll tell the meaning of this one. Then name of the image. Suppose my image name is Ubuntu. This is my image name. From this image, I want to create a container. So Docker run -it Ubuntu, then /bin /bash. So this command we have to use to create and start container. Okay, for both purpose, for creation purpose and to run the container or to start a container, we have this command docker run. So this run will create a container as well as start the container. Now what is the meaning of -it? -I means what? Interactive mode. Means after creating container, suppose I want to do any modifications in my container, so I can do it. So that's why it's called as interactive mode. And T means what? Terminal. Okay, so on the terminal itself we can do the modifications. So I means interactive mode and T means terminal. So this is another way of writing -I or -t or else -it. Both I'll show you. First we'll see -it. Then this is the image. So from this image I want to create a container. Already this image I pulled by using this command docker pull, suppose Ubuntu. Okay, else I'll show you, I'll write here Jenkins. Already I pulled here, and then space /bin and /bash. Okay, so this command is sufficient. See, this is very important command because we are discussing about container only, and we know the Docker is used to create a container, but you should know how to create a container from image and how to run it. So this single command we use to create and run container, right? And suppose I want to rename this. One more command is there. I want to rename image or container, right? To rename container, right? Command is the same command we have to use *# docker. By default this hash will be there. Hash means what? You are in admin, what we call you are in root user. Okay, so means if you have admin access, then you will get this star. If you don't have admin access, if you are normal user, then you will get a dollar symbol here. I'll show you. First you will get dollar symbol, then you have to switch from normal user to root user by using a command called sudo space su super user. Then you'll get this hash. So then you have to type this command docker space run space then here -name. Okay. So just to rename. Okay, already I have. So by default there are some names for the container. I want to change those names. We can give our own name also. Actually Docker will give some default names to container. I want to change those names. So this command we have to use. Then the name which I want to give, suppose I want to give XYZ to my container, and to which container I want to give Ubuntu, suppose. This space /bin then /bash. Okay. So this command only after this only you have to write these two words, that is -name and XYZ, and here you can write instead of this one, suppose here if I write Jenkins. Now after executing this command, you will not get this Jenkins name to the container. You will get this name because we have renamed it XYZ instead of Jenkins. Okay, so this is the one more command to rename a container. Okay, after that, suppose I want to check service, Docker service. Is what? Whether your Docker is running or not, it is started or not, right? Whether it is active or inactive. So for that, see, I'm not checking container, I'm checking Docker. Okay, with if your Docker is running, then only, if it is active, then only you can create a, or you can pull the image from the Docker hub, then you can create a container. But if your Docker is not running, if it is not active, then you can't pull the images from the hub. You cannot run the containers, you cannot create the containers. So first we should check whether your Docker is running or not. So how to check Docker service? The command is Docker, sorry, service Docker status. Okay. If you execute this command, it will show whether your Docker is active or inactive. Active means it is running. Inactive means it is stopped. Okay. This command we use to check Docker status, Docker service. Okay. Suppose if it is service means what? Whether it is start or stop. Now next command is, okay, if it is stopped, if my Docker is not running, if it is inactive, then I want to start Docker now. Okay, to start. Okay, Docker. Okay, first I'll tell you to start container. To start container, command is Docker start and container name. Container name. Okay, so you have to give container name here. So which container you want to start? There are many containers. Okay, we'll see. So to start container, the command is Docker space start space container name. Okay. Next is, suppose I want to go inside. Suppose I want to do any modifications in my container. Just now I told you that in images we cannot do any changes. We cannot do any modifications. But in containers you can do modifications. Actually, if your image is running, then we call it as a container. Okay. So to do any modification in container, suppose first we should enter into the container. So how to go inside the container? The command is to go inside container. Command is Docker attach and container name. Okay. So in which container you want to go? So container name you have to write here. Now next is, okay, already I'm in container now. Okay. Then again I want to see all containers. How many containers are running? How many containers are stopped? To see all containers, the command is Docker ps and -a. Okay, so this command we have to write. PS means what? Process status. Suppose in my system there are multiple containers. See, but all containers are not running. Few containers are running, few containers are stopped. I want to see all stopped containers and all running containers. Then we have to use this command. Docker ps -a. -a means all. Suppose I want to see only running containers. Okay, not all. Then in that case, to see running containers only, the command is docker ps. Okay, only ps. It will show all running containers only. Suppose I have 6 containers total. Out of these 6, 2 are running. It will show only 2 containers. But if I execute this command, it will show all 6, and at the end there is one column called status. In that status you will get, if it is stopped means exit. The status it is exited. If it is running means it will show so the time, since last 20 minutes it is running, since last 2 minutes it is running, like this. Okay, now the last command is, more commands are there. How to stop container. Stop container. Command is docker stop, then container name. Which container you want to stop. The last command is, suppose I want to delete container from my local machine. To delete container, the command is docker rm remove, then container name. Okay, so these are the 13 commands. So guys, is there any doubt? I hope it is clear to everyone till this point. So you should remember this all 13 commands, because now I'm going to show you a lab here. This is how the Docker works. I'll show you on Amazon Linux machine. Already I have created an account on AWS. So already you know how to create a machine, that Linux machine, a Linux server on AWS account. Okay, then I'll show you how to install this Docker on Linux server. Then how to create a, so we'll see all these commands. Okay, I think now time is 2:50. Okay, so I'll stop here, and tomorrow again at 8 o'clock I'll show you how to use these commands to create a container. Just wait.